Hey YouTube, it's Zach. We did it. We were able to drop the May inflation numbers to 3.4%, which was the smallest increase in CPI since 2021. You guys followed my 3-point plan from the previous video and it worked. The question is, will Bank of Canada start cutting rates? In today's episode, we're going to dive into the May inflation numbers, make some predictions on where Bank of Canada's interest rates will be. So stay tuned till the end. Now, you might be wondering, who's this guy? First off, I'm a real estate agent, which automatically makes me an economist and a financial advisor. 2, I'm closer to Tiff Macklem than you are to your dreams right now. And 3, I guess I have a YouTube channel. If you haven't read the Statistics Canada report, this huge drop was due to gasoline prices coming in lower year over year by about 18.3%. But Zach, didn't you fill up gas this past week? It's like $1.60 per liter. Well, we compare CPI to last year, and last year by May, gas was already super expensive. I think it was close to $2. I don't know if anyone remembers. Let me know in the comments. Of course, gasoline inflation behavior has nothing to do with interest rates. Gasoline demand is mainly inelastic, meaning how much gas you are going to need has nothing to do with gas prices. Regardless of what the price per liter of gasoline is, we're still gonna go to the gas station, fill up gas, collect points, and drive to work. And if Bank of Canada makes sure people completely run out of cash somehow, we'll buy less gas and we'll start walking to work. OPEC Plus and other gas producing nations will decrease their supply, prices would go back up, inflation will win regardless. Basically, Big Daddy Tiff has as much control over gasoline prices as a 2-year-old has on the weather. If you've been following this channel, you might know that we already knew inflation was gonna go down just about now. Not because anything changed in consumers' behavior or Bank of Canada did anything impressive, just because last year prices went up so fast around this time, so inflation was crazy. And since CPI is calculated year over year, as long as there is no insane increase this year, the CPI will be dropping really fast. It's like an employee trying too hard on the first day of the job to impress, and a year later that same employee's performance will look stagnant if they don't improve on top of their initial performance by a mile. In the CPI report for May, Statistics Canada has a whole VIP section on this topic called Base Year Effect, the headline consumer price index. The good news continues with lower prices for cellular service. Year over year, apparently we've been paying about 8.2% less in May. This is the largest year over year decline since April 2022. I'm thinking people purchased an iPhone 11 in 2021 and that thing is a beast. So whoever's renewing their plans right now, they're probably picking from one of Bell's or Rogers, ultra cheap, bring your own device, a la carte menu options, one more rate hike, and Canadians probably gonna switch to Android. All right, so the good news is done. Now I have bad news and even badder news. Which one do you want first? Bad news it is. Galen Weston's profits rose by 9% year over year in May. The highest year over year increase among grocery items include the edible fats and oils, that was up 20% roughly, bakery products 15%, and cereal products were up 13.6%. If you have invested in lettuce based on my last video, you didn't make any profits, unfortunately. However, my savvy investor friend who I mentioned in the last video was sitting on some olive oil and Wonder Bread and sold them all for insane profits. You might be wondering, Zach, who's this investor friend that you keep mentioning in every single video? It's Galen Weston. He's my investor buddy. The guy is a wizard. When it comes to price increases, it's like he knows what's gonna go up. It's almost as if he is setting the prices himself. In fact, if you ask the Competition Bureau, they might even claim he is. No one knows. Great guy. If you want to be rich like him, all you need to do is buy some Loblaw stocks and shares, and you can screw over the Canadian people together. I know this has been a hot topic, so I will probably make a controversial video on it. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Otherwise, there is a chance that YouTube won't show you my beautiful face again. Now, moving on to the badder news, the mortgage interest cost index increases at the fastest pace on record. The mortgage interest cost index rose by almost 30% on a year-over-year basis in May, as Canadians keep, renewing their mortgages, initiate new mortgages at a higher interest rate. The mortgage interest cost index is the largest contributor to the CPI increase. If you exclude mortgage interest cost index from the CPI year over year would be a near target 2.5% increase in May. We have a slight problem here in Canada. For example, in the US, if you get a mortgage, you can lock in your rate for the entire duration of your mortgage amortization. 25 years, 30 years. In Canada, that rate changes on your mortgage renewal if you have a fixed rate mortgage. For fixed rate mortgages, this means every 3 to 5 years, you'll be going to the bank, signing new documents, and negotiating the rate that you'll be paying for the next 3 to 5 years. And that's fine unless some guy decides to jack up the rate to 5% in a week because some other guy spent too much money and caused inflation, or so they say. Only 1/3 of Canadians have a mortgage. So when you hear numbers like interest rates went up by 5%, for the 2/3 of Canadians who don't have a mortgage, this means pretty much nothing. So let me put it into perspective. For the ones who have a mortgage looking to renew this year, or they're on variable rate, a 1% increase in your mortgage rate on a $500,000 mortgage is about 14%. That's a $260 increase per month. And Bank of Canada did this about 4 times last year. Imagine if you found a nice little rental unit downtown, CN Tower views, west facing, you're getting a ton of natural light, and the landlord said, how about we do it for $1,800? Amazing deal, right? 3 months into your lease, the landlord decided to raise the rent by $250. Okay, then 2 months later, they called you and said they want to increase it by another $250. Then they called you again and again. And by the end of your first year, you went from paying $1,800 to $2,700. You'd be very, very upset as a tenant, no? And before the haters show up in the comment section and say, these speculators, they deserve it. Remember, these are just young couples, just like you, who finally put a few dollars together. This is someone's mom and dad who've been paying down a mortgage of $700,000, let's say, for the past 7 years. I'm not talking about those crazy Uber driver guys who purchased a $2 million pre-construction detached house with fake paperwork, speculating on the market, and blaming my boys Tiff McDaddy and just inflation. I'm talking about the average Canadian who's trying to make it, and now they find out that their mortgage is amortizing over 90 years. In my professional opinion, just like rent control, there should be some controls on how much interest rates can go up. I shall call it mortgage rate control, so that homeowners, just like tenants, are not screwed over by their royal landlords. So now it's time for the interest rate predictions. Thank you for waiting this long. Bank of Canada says they look at the CPI when they make their policy rate decisions. Inflation is down to 2.5% if you take out mortgage interest rate costs out of the CPI basket of goods. We know Bank of Canada is causing the mortgage interest rate inflation anyway. So if you believe Bank of Canada's mission is to bring inflation down, then any reasonable person would say they will probably pause for a while and maybe start dropping the rates once inflation without the mortgage gets to around the 2% target. Bank of Canada's next policy rate announcement is July 12th. The US Federal Reserve announcement is after us, so TIFF won't have any data to make a decision other than the CPI numbers from May, which we talked about in this video. So if the rates go up, as the kids would say these days, stop the cap. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.